Alors, Hello? Hello, tu m'entends bien?
On t'entend. Rapproche-toi de l'écran pour voir.
Comment?
Rapproche-toi, parle plus près de l'écran.
Hello?
Ah oui, je pense que c'est lié à ton ordinateur, le son, en effet. Mais
Oui, parce qu'on entend tout le monde, il faut que tout le monde se taise.
non, là, on n'entend pas tout le monde dans le micro, en tout cas. Dans l'oreillette. Si vous entendez tout le monde, Gabriel?
Gabriel?
Oui, on entend beaucoup de bruit autour.
Il faut choisir les bons micros. Et je pense que le micro oreillette n'est pas choisi par défaut. C'est le micro de l'ordinateur qui est activé, en tout cas pour Marie-Claude.
Et comment il faut faire pour l'enlever?
Paramètres Zoom, ça doit être, je pense. Paramètres Zoom, audio, et puis là, on peut choisir le micro.
Qui est en test avec Marie-Claude?
Ouais.
Et puis les paramètres de l'application. C'est avoir microphone, la zone microphone de l'ordinateur, ou alors microphone, en principe, il doit en détecter un autre. Avec les écouteurs.
Non, il faut absolument que ça soit les micro-casques.
Oui.
N'utilisez absolument pas, et ça vaut pour tout le monde, les micros des ordinateurs, les micros intégrés à l'ordinateur. Comment? Oui, tout à l'heure, une fois que j'aurai intégré les interprètes, je vous passe le host.
Alors, Madame de Milleville, le micro est encore ouvert, je crois.
Ouais.
Oui, rebonjour à tous, aux panélistes. Je voulais vous signaler que vous pouvez déjà vous déconnecter de cette session training practice parce on va commencer la réunion bientôt. On va commencer les préparatifs techniques. Voilà, donc on se rejoint tout à l'heure en réunion plénière. Merci beaucoup.
Test, test.
Alors, donc, chers collègues interprètes, est-ce qu'on peut faire un petit test? Donc, si quelqu'un peut parler dans l'anglais, s'il vous plaît.
Est-ce que l'on peut m'entendre sur le canal anglais? L'interprète est sur le canal anglais. Est-ce que l'on peut m'entendre? Canal anglais, canal anglais. English channel, can you hear me? Ok. Est-ce que je passe au canal français? Oui.
Au canal français. Oui, on t'entend, mais là j'ai trop de micros ouverts, c'est compliqué. Et donc, je vais voir pourquoi il y a autant d'écho. C'est pénible, j'entends mal. Enfin, je m'entends 50 fois. Non. Donc...
J'entends correctement la traduction.
Oui, la traduction, oui.
Oui, c'est ton canal.
Le problème, c'est les flores.
D'accord, oui, ok.
C'est que les flores reproduisent plein de fois et répliquées par plein de micros, que ça soit dans
Alors, on n'entend plus là, t'as baissé le son énormément, je crois.
Moi, je pense que l'option d'utilisation des
très peu là.
Casques dans la salle me paraît pas une bonne idée. Mais
c'est moi qui fais n'importe quoi.
Pour vous, interprète, est-ce que quelqu'un d'une autre cabine que Léa peut prendre l'anglais ou le français? Oui, les français. Oui, français. Oui, très bien.
So this is the English channel. Good morning everybody. Oula, il y a des petits bruits bizarres, effectivement.
Alberto, est-ce que tout marche bien pour les tests?
Moi, je ne suis pas très confortable. J'ai beaucoup d'échos.
Nous aussi. Est-ce que vous avez une alternative pour éviter les échos?
L'utilisation de micro-salles.
Donc un micro-salle plutôt que les casques individuels, c'est ça?
Mm.
Est-ce que je peux poser une question à Marie-Claude? Marie-Claude? Ou à Armin? Marie-Claude, tu m'entends?
Je ne sais pas si... Ouais, je ne sais pas s'ils peuvent vous entendre.
C'est Armin?
Non, non, c'est Xavier, je suis tech assistante. Armin ne doit pas être devant son
J'ai une
poste.
question très pratique à vous poser.
Allez-y, je vous écoute.
Parce que, bon, j'ai une très très courte intervention avant une vidéo qui doit passer de 3 minutes. Mais qui déclenche la vidéo? C'est vous?
C'est nous, monsieur, c'est nous.
Voilà.
D'accord, donc vous me prévenez et j'interviens juste avant ou juste après?
En fait, laissez-moi voir le déroulé, comment c'est censé faire.
Avec l'agenda, ça c'est oui.
Parce qu'on m'a dit que tout était prévu, mais je n'ai pas le déroulé.
Nous, on a partagé aux membres du comité.
Alors c'est oui.
Ils auraient dû.
Peut-être que.
Alors, monsieur Toussault.
Toussault, c'est ça, oui.
Oui, Toussault. Donc, après Martine Lévy, donc, vous voulez parler avant ou après la vidéo?
Je préfère parler juste avant, quoi. J'en ai pour 30 secondes. Hein.
Ok, c'est bien. Donc,
vous me prévenez?
je vais voir avec Madame la Présidente, parce que c'est elle qui préside la session.
D'accord.
Donc, elle vous donnera la parole, vous ferez votre présentation.
Très bien.
Et après, quand vous êtes en train de finir, c'est vous qui me donnera le signal. Vous demanderez la présentation de la vidéo, je l'afficherai.
Très bien. Mais c'est à quel moment? C'est après le discours de Marie-Claude, la présidente?
En fait, vous avez un programme qui est public, en fait. Donc, il y a après l'approbation des rapports d'activité,
oui.
Il y a pendant l'approbation des rapports d'activité entre 14h et 15h30.
C'est ça, oui.
Donc là, il y a donc en fait vers 14h, vous devrez vous connecter.
14h.
En fait, après l'approbation de l'ordre du jour, de la constitution du bureau des commissions, du bureau de la conférence et de la commission des élections,
Oui.
et de la présentation du déroulement des élections, qui sont censées finir à 14h, cela, selon le programme.
Mais quelqu'un m'introduit, vous dit à Monsieur Toussault. Monsieur Toussault, non?
Non, en fait, vous pouvez suivre la transmission publique sur la page web de la conférence.
Oui.
Et donc, quand vous voyez que c'est déjà en cours, que ça se rapproche au moment où vous devrez participer, vous vous connectez sur le Zoom.
Oui, vers 14h, quoi. Vers 14h.
Mais bien sûr, cela est indicatif. Cela dépend aussi de comment la discussion progresse pendant la conférence.
D'accord.
Ok. Parce que peut-être qu'ils se prennent du temps à approuver quelque chose.
D'accord. Alors, juste après l'approbation, alors.
Après, en fait, connectez-vous pendant la présentation
très bien.
de Sabina concernant les élections, le déroulement des élections. Là, c'est un bon moment. Juste pendant ou juste après.
D'accord. Un petit peu avant 14 heures. D'accord.
Je vous dis, c'est indicatif l'horaire.
D'accord.
Ça dépendra. Donc, je vous suggère plutôt de suivre dans la séance publique sur la page web, le site web de la conférence. Quand vous voyez que la présentation du déroulement des élections est en train de finir, vous rentrez. Sauf s'il y a une décision que les représentants principaux doivent prendre. En ce cas-là, ne rentrez pas encore, s'il vous plaît. Ok.
Très bien. Merci.
Je vous en prie, monsieur.
Ah, Yanner, dur, hein.
Bonjour monsieur, votre micro est ouvert.
Alors c'est à qui que je dois donner les hosts? Quel est le nom de la personne?
Alors c'est Armin, UNESCO Armin qui devient host.
UNESCO?
Oui. Les UNESCO, je cherche dans la liste.
Je ne le vois pas.
Armin Ibrahimovic. Ah bah il est co-hôte déjà, oui voilà. C'est ça.
Armin.
Armin, ouais, Armin.
D'accord. Et si vous pouvez me remettre hôte et co-hôte après, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, alors bah, c'est Armin. Je sais pas s'il est devant le poste là.
Non, il est devant. Enfin, il est avec les personnes.
Oui. Parce que moi je peux sinon rester haute jusqu'à ce qu'il soit de retour.
Est-ce que dans la salle vous m'entendez? Est-ce que vous m'entendez dans la salle? Non? Vous m'entendez pas dans la salle?
La salle c'est en physique, c'est ça?
La salle physique, oui.
Ouais, je peux pas vous dire.
Salut, bonjour.
Ah, ça a l'air de... oui. On entend la room 8 en tout cas.
Voilà, c'est ça, il y a des objections.
Comment ça
Bon, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Pourquoi? Bon, je vais aller voir dans la salle.
Ok.
Voilà, là, ça va? Là, je suis en train de parler. Ça va? Non, non, bon.
Oui, on entend, ça fonctionne
allô.
ici. Hein.
Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
On entend, oui. On entend.
Alberto? Alberto, tu m'entends?
Oui, oui, j'entends bien. Très bien.
C'est bien?
Oui.
Mais est-ce que vous m'entendez dans les casques? Parce que moi, je ne m'entends pas. Il faut les allumer, les casques. Hein?
Les casques, il faut, dans les sélecteurs, choisir
Mais là, pour
langue 1 si c'est l'anglais ou langue 3 si c'est le
Luis Alberto,
français.
moi, je n'ai pas le casque là.
C'est pas Luis Alberto, c'est Alberto,
Ah oui,
mais
oui.
ça fait rien.
Oui. C'est bon. Ok. Ok, donc moi, c'est bon, parce que c'est moi qui démarre, donc on est d'accord.
Oui.
Marie-Claude, vous devez faire les tests là, s'il vous plaît. Mettez les casques et voyez si vous entendez.
Dans la salle des conférences, dans la salle numéro 8, vous devez choisir la langue que vous voulez entendre, les volumes, ajuster les volumes d'écoute.
Ok.
Et une fois que vous aurez, par exemple, vous pouvez le faire maintenant avec les curseurs, les boutons up, down, vers le haut, vers le bas, vous réglez votre volume. Et pendant que je parle, par exemple, vous pouvez le faire, certains l'ont déjà fait. Madame, vous avez bien le volume ajusté? Oui? Ok, très bien. Bon, ben alors.
Bon, donc mon microphone fonctionne. Je passe à Marie-Christine.
Oui, est-ce que vous m'entendez? Non.
Le mien, c'est bon, vous m'entendez?
Est-ce
oui,
que vous m'entendez?
Bon. Oui.
Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui.
Ok, je m'entends.
Pas plus de 3 micros à la fois, s'il vous plaît.
Sorry, I don't speak French, I speak English.
No problem, you can speak English if you want. You will have the interpretation.
I have to hear the persons. Everybody speaking in French.
No problem, interpretation will be available in 1 or 2 minutes.
We are just testing.
Yes, we are
you may activate the translation later, when there will be translation, on the little globe on the right side, which says interpretation.
C'est bon.
Testing.
Ok.
Très bien.
Vous m'entendez, moi, voilà. Est-ce que ça marche?
Les sites distants, toutes les personnes qui sont ailleurs qu'à l'UNESCO, on vous entend bien. C'est pas la peine de prendre la parole, on vous entend. Si vous activez votre micro, ça va marcher. It will work. Everyone that it's outside UNESCO, the sound is okay. It's all coming in through the system. No need to do tests right now. Keep your mic closed if you are not speaking, of course, because we are going to have feedback otherwise. And that's it. Thank you. Dernier détail, si on peut me mettre co-host. J'ai demandé, mon nom c'est A, technicien UNESCO, A de Alberto, donc si je peux être très bien, merci beaucoup.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Nous allons commencer.
Good morning, everyone. We are going to start. Dear representatives of the NGOs in official partnership with UNESCO, who for part of you are connected via the Zoom platform and the other part listening to the webcast meeting. Dear observers of the foundations, I would like to welcome you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Sabina Colombo. I'm the head of the unit within UNESCO of the partnerships with civil society in the Bureau for Strategic Planning. We're very soon going to start our International Conference of NGOs in 2020, which, as you know, is therefore going to be held online today, tomorrow, and on Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. Paris time. So before we start, I would like to remind you of a few technical points. As I have just mentioned, the main representatives of NGOs with official partnership, as appointed by their organizations, are going to join us on the Zoom platform. All of the other NGO representatives, as well as the observers, will follow us on the live webcast on the website dedicated to the conference, and they can interact with us through the available chat. I would like to point out again that the conference sessions are public, and therefore they will all be broadcast live. And you will find all of the conference-related documentation on the website. Now, in compliance with the rules of procedure of the International Conference, you're going to have interpretation in English and in French. And the participants who are connected via the Zoom platform can find the interpretation icon, which is a little globe, by sliding their mouse to the bottom right of the Zoom screen, and you can connect to the language of your choice, or you may also decide to listen to the discussion without interpretation. I would also like to remind the main participants what we can do by way of interaction. As was already pointed out in the guide that was sent to you, you have a Q&A function available, which will allow you to ask written questions throughout the sessions. And you can also ask for the floor by clicking on the requesting the floor icon. And if this is required by the session, you will also be in a position to express your choice and answer specific questions through the polling function of Zoom. Of course, if you have any special questions to this point, you can ask. You can use the question and answer function, and of course, the Secretariat and the Liaison Committee will answer these questions. I would also like to remind the main representatives that in the guide you will find the contact number of the person who can provide technical assistance if necessary.
With the formal opening of this 2020 International Conference of NGOs in official partnership with UNESCO. I have the honor to present to you a video message by Madame Audrey Azoulay, Director General of UNESCO, who could not be with you today. Amin.
Sorry about this. We have a technical glitch, but we right away will restart this video. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to start by greeting all of the UNESCO partner NGOs, and in particular those who joined us recently. Altogether, you are more than 400 organizations from all over the world working side by side with UNESCO on a daily basis. And I can see there the true sign of mutual trust and the confirmation of the complementary role that we each play. These partnerships are essential indeed. They are the natural extension in the field of our work, and they also feed it on an ongoing basis. And this is particularly true in these exceptional times. During this pandemic, which very quickly became a crisis of education, culture, education and science in a certain way, and in view of a crisis that challenges the unit of our societies, that really asks us many questions about our relationship to nature, you have been essential allies. Proof of this is the 150 joint actions that we conducted between March and July. This is also true for our global education coalition, which could never have been as complete, as relevant, and as efficient without you. Your in-depth knowledge of local situations is very precious to us, and this is also the reason why in the cultural area we wanted to make your voices heard during the Resiliart debate that we organized in over 75 countries to support artists and culture professionals worldwide and think about recovery through and by culture.
This crisis is a warning. By revealing the fractures that weaken our societies, by recalling that progress must always serve the greater good, it underlines the relevance of the global commons for which UNESCO is the custodian. More than ever, we need to develop collective responses to these global challenges. And this is precisely the future that we have outlined in our proposals for the medium-term strategy, which will engage our organization up until 2030. To develop it, we launched the most extensive consultations in the history of our organizations, targeting, of course, member states who responded overwhelmingly, but also national commission, civil societies, the youth. But of course, we also needed your views. Over 100 organizations took part in these consultations, and for this I thank you. I am delighted that this conference will also be an opportunity to further our reflections on these proposals. you have a very important role to play in building the UNESCO of the future. Our ever-deepening relationship owes much to the efforts and engagement of the outgoing Liaison Committee, and particularly its president, Marie-Claude Machon-Honoré, whom I thank warmly. During its mandate, the committee has helped deepen UNESCO's ties with NGOs, but also ties between NGOs. Last September's webinar, which focused on the voices of NGOs during this period of crisis, was an excellent reflection of the trust and confidence that define the way we work together. Your contributions, your views are essential. They advance, they complement, and they contribute to our work. At UNESCO, we know we can count on your engagement, upstream as watchdogs and as a source of proposals, and downstream as we implement our mandate. I wish we can keep strengthening these ties, and in this respect, I would like to acknowledge the role played by the Ambassador of Serbia, Chair of the Committee on Non-Governmental Partners, for her personal involvement in this field. I thank you for your attention and wish you fruitful discussions in this international conference. Thank you very much. Merci.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now pleased to give the floor to Madame Marie-Claude Machon-Honoré, Chairperson of the International Conference of NGOs and of the NGO UNESCO Liaison Committee, for her opening speech.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sabina Colombo. Thank you very much to the Director General of UNESCO, Ms. Audrey Azoulay, for a powerful speech on the role of NGOs alongside UNESCO. Good morning, good afternoon, good night maybe to some of our colleagues, to our friends NGOs. Hello to the whole committee of the Liaison Committee. Dear NGOs, dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies, dear Madam Director General and Mr. Director of BSP, Mr. Lesso, I'm very happy to be here today. La CIONG, que j'ai l'honneur de privilège de présider depuis
the international conference that I've had the honor and privilege to chair since December 2018, and that I will still chair for those 3 days, is really the moment and the must-have partner for collective cooperation and dialogue with NGOs, member states, and UNESCO. Why is it an honor? Because you have elected me, you have granted me your trust. And why is it a privilege? Because I strongly believe in the values and mission of UNESCO, and also because I am a woman, and these days gender equality is not yet absolutely present everywhere in positions of power. So many things have happened since the last international conference, where I was telling you that the Liaison Committee would be listening to you, that we would speak with one collective voice to defend education, human rights, gender equality, youth, but also to promote science as common good, intercultural dialogue for sustainable development and peace, but also to strengthen our visibility with a better communication and our partnership with UNESCO, thanks to a true interactive dialogue with member states and the Secretariat. I've had the feeling that I was a captain in a storm. This was not easy, and I did my best to go through the crisis and to defend the interest of NGOs, as I had said that I would, and this in a crucial context of strategic transformation for our partnerships and of pandemic, which completely upset the strategy that we had decided upon following the recommendations of the 2018 conference. Out of the 4 forums that had been decided by the directive, just 1 could be held at headquarters, and in a context where we had transportation strikes. So challenging inequalities, that was the issue we were discussing. There was a true dialogue between the various participants and civil society. The forum on the International Conference recommendations on the major theme of world citizenship led to a webinar where we continued our collective reflection on this theme. Celebrations of international days were also postponed, even though the preparation group for the International Day of Peace allowed or made it possible for choirs from all over the world to record a video that you'll be able to see, which again demonstrates the importance of culture and music, which brings us together beyond our differences, which is not an empty word at UNESCO. The crisis did not prevent us from continuing our intensive reflection on advocating for the right to education, especially at a time where schools are being closed and when discrimination, poverty, and inequalities have increased, as well as violence against women, forced marriages, and unwanted pregnancies. It is our duty to mobilize together with UNESCO to avoid another lost generation and to continue our reflection on the futures of education. To answer this unheard of crisis, it is necessary to reinforce the partnership between NGOs and UNESCO. This is urgent so as to share our expertise, which is a source of wealth to feed our reflection. In agreement with the latest international conference, some work was conducted from the very beginning of this mandate. I'm sorry for this. And in consultation with the Secretariat. So, I don't remember where I was. Okay, so in agreement with the last meeting of the International Conference, some work has started from the beginning of the mandate and in consultation with the Secretariat with about 30 NGOs so as to make proposals for strengthening dialogue between member states and UNESCO. And with member states and UNESCO. The improvement of the way the liaison committee operates is indispensable for all. And this is why rules of procedure and a code of conduct for the liaison committee, but also a guide for the forums, will be submitted to your approval. There is still a lot to be done to define the roles of each committee member, including that of the chairperson, so as to be more agile in the context of crisis. It is time to think about a few important points that we have in these tools. The thematic reflection groups stopped meeting after the 10th of March on a face-to-face basis, but they continued in a virtual format. The liaison committee is a member of the coordination group of the NGOs Education 2030, and on your behalf and on behalf of the liaison committee, which is an active partner since the 8th meeting in 2017, I presented your proposals for the recognition of the right to quality education and to inclusive and fair education as a major objective of the Sustainable Development Goals before the crisis and during a period where schools are being closed. I very often took the floor on your behalf during the sessions of the Executive Board, during the General Conference, of course, but also with the Secretaries General of the National Commission, so as to make our actions visible. I met the President of the Non-Governmental Partners Committee in 2019, again in 2020, so as to open a dialogue with them. I also exchanged with the delegations to explain the essential role played by NGOs on the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals and UNESCO priorities.
I also wanted to tell you that discussing with NGOs was always close to my heart, and it made me possible to focus on the challenges society face. And I'm confident that this concept of a laboratory of ideas that UNESCO is important for the liaison committee. During this conference, we will also convey to the Director General our thoughts on the preliminary proposals for which we would like to thank her. It is within a specific particular context that this international conference is taking place. The world is faced with unprecedented challenge, health crisis, economic crisis, inequalities, added to the climate crisis, migration crisis, leading to an increase in violence, the fear of others, and poverty in the world, hunger, education, gender equality are challenged ever since 2015, and the SDGs and the 2030 SDGs with the 17 objectives. We have a lot of work, and at the time of the pandemics, there is also fake news, which is a challenge.
Crucial, as well as NGOs' contributions. This crisis is also a new paradigm and the opportunity for us individually and collectively to rethink our world, the way we live, the way we act, the way we eat, the way we educate our children for critical thinking and skills for life, but also empower them as active citizens and future leaders. This is our chance to build back and recover better, and to envisage a better and more sustainable future for the sake of humanity. Indeed, in response to this crisis, with the havoc it has wreaked throughout the world, NGOs have been on the front line and in the field, acting together in solidarity with the most vulnerable groups and in cooperation with UNESCO. This digital ICNGO is a case in point, showing that the crisis has also made it possible to have a platform for ourselves, designed to share all necessary information, which is a great advance in our communication, and also for a greater number of NGOs, including NGOs in the regions, to participate in this key event and elect the new liaison committee and its chairperson for the next 2 years. I'm taking this opportunity to thank sincerely all the liaison committee members for their efforts to make of this online edition of the ICNGO a success, and for their work as well as the Secretariat and unit of for the civil society partnership for their close cooperation and intense work. Thank you. More than ever, UNESCO is fighting to safeguard the right to education, open science, culture, verified information through its multiple and intersectoral partnerships. Civil society is called upon to contribute to this major and unprecedented crisis. This conference will be an opportunity for NGOs to share their reflection on efficient and effective strategies, their actions in the field, and to strengthen their cooperation alongside UNESCO with other stakeholders in the areas of education, science and culture, and find innovative and sustainable solutions for a more equitable and inclusive world. We, as NGOs in official partnership with UNESCO, have a critical role to play in contributing to the laboratory of ideas which UNESCO stands for, the implementation of its program, and alerting the organization on the major challenges faced at the grassroots level, and advocate for the most vulnerable at the highest political level so as to leave no one behind. We need to rethink our relationship with the world and with each other. We need to get together and get stronger. We need to share our knowledge, act in solidarity, and make the world a better place. We need appeasement and peace. There is still beauty and grace on this planet. We, NGOs, have so much to give and to offer. Our solidarity, empathy, kindness and humanity. Madame Director General, Mr. Jean-Yves Le Saux, Director of BSP, Ms. Sabina Colombo, Head of the Unit for Civil Society Partnership, and Armin and Luis Alberto, also my colleagues from the Liaison Committee, Vice President Philippe, and Cyril Martin, who has been very efficient in this digital ICNGO. All of you, thank you. Excellency, colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for contributing to this quite different ICNGO or joining us online, and for your interest in our activities and debate on our partnership with UNESCO and how we can open up the dialogue between ourselves to strategize better and use our synergies to make the world a better place. We need hope and action. I extend my special thanks to the Director of BSP, Mr. Jean-Yves Le Sceau, who has been a great facilitator of the work of the Liaison Committee and supporter of NGO partners, and myself as Chair during this mandate. We wish you all a great conference and thank you for your active participation and commitment to our mission at UNESCO. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just concluded the opening session of this conference. The International Conference of NGO will continue with its proceeding with the operative part, as indicated in the program that you received in advance. So without further ado, I yield the floor to Madam Chairperson, who chairs the conference, so on.
Nous allons mettre...
Now let's move to electing the vice chair for this session of the International Conference of NGOs, and also electing the rapporteurs and tellers. For the vice chairs, we have two proposals, and Philippe Dossan, the present vice chair, and also Diego Gratis, that I'd like to thank. Do you have objections? If you do not have objections, I'll validate these proposals. Thank you. So the vice chairs of this International Conference of NGOs will be Philippe Dossan and Diego Gratis. Now for rapporteur. Roy accepted to be a rapporteur, as well as Andrew. Andrew, can you confirm? It is underway.
Ah, ok, je la vois pas. Levez la main, je vois pas la main levée. Qui a levé la main, je vois pas la main. Olga. D'accord.
Olga, c'est un test apparemment pour se renommer, mais ça fonctionne.
Pardon, moi je vois pas les mains levées. Hein. Oui, je sais que c'est un droit. Donc Olga et Isabelle Chaperon, qui voudraient être rapporteurs pour aider donc Roy. Oui, merci. Et Andrew, je ne sais pas s'il veut y être. Tu vois, je sais pas les. Tu dois y aller. Spectateur. Ouais. Ok. Ok. Et Olga Legaquin. D'accord. Y a-t-il des objections? Diego?
Non, c'est pas une objection de principe, mais
it's not an objection. I think rapporteurs must be chosen among the members of the liaison committee. But well, there were Roy, and Roy has done a lot of work already. Maybe it's a good idea, unless Andrew agrees. We have to wait for Andrew's answer. I think Andrew did.
I'm like, can you hear me?
Yes. Can we see him? Or can you show your face?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Yes, I can see you. Sorry.
Yeah. Oui, je suis ici. I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So it's okay. Donc on garde Roy et.
We will keep Roy and Andrew. Are there objections? to that proposal? No objections? Thank you very much. So now let's move on to electing the tellers. There were 3 proposals. Yes, I know. We have 3 NGO proposals and 2 proposals from the liaison committee. The members of the liaison committee, Marie-Christine Gré de Barbelé, and also Diego Gratis, who wanted to check the list. And we also have Martine Lévy, AMGE, Catherine Tulle, the Buddhist Association, and Marie-Claude Allaise, ATD Fourth World. So we can accept exceptionally 5 tellers because we have this choice. We have this possibility. And because the conference is online, it is all the more complicated. So someone would like to take the floor, Cyril? No? Now, if there are objections, could you please express your objections, if you have any? I can't see any objection. Now, let me give the floor to Sabina Colombo on the running of the elections. Diego, you're asking for the floor. I think the recommendation group should be set up. The group for recommendations. We are actually making a call. You can send us by mail the information, and the first, no, it's by chat. The first incoming NGOs will be the first retained. So it's not the chat, it's question and answers box that you should use for that. It's the commission for the recommendations that we present at the end of the international conference. Normally, we do it actually in the room with hands raised, and we hear the recommendations. Microphone, please. Microphone. The chair's microphone is off. The chair's microphone is off. Christine Roche is asking for the floor. Could you raise your hand? Raise your hands. We have Christine Roche, Maison de Sagesse. UATI, have you taken note of that? And Maison de Sagesse. Who has taken note of all this? There, how many people? 6. Are they all people in Europe, in other regions? Well, it's a pity. Are there other people from other regions? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Who is talking? I can hear you. Who is? It's Gabrielle. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Well, I have no video and I can't write on the chat box. I wanted to nominate myself. Yes, of course, we will take that into account. Philippe, there are 8 people who have volunteered. Maybe it's a lot. Gabrielle de Melville, Christine Roche, Marie-Vonne Kayser, Marguerite Denis, Maison de Sagesse, Hervé Daré, Teresa Kennedy, and Chantal Grévin. So 8 people validated for recommendations. We will let you know how things will be organized. Diego, do you want to say something? Seven people. Marie-Vonne Kayser withdrew, so that leaves us with 7 people. Let me give the floor to Sabina Colombo for the running of the elections. Thank you, Marie-Claude. As is the case for International Conference, I just wanted to recall the information that you have already through the note that you received on elections. All partner NGOs received it in French and English. So the objective is not to give you new information, but information you have received already. As you know, elections for the chairperson and the liaison committee are governed by the relevant text. You have the directives concerning UNESCO's partnership with NGOs and the rules of procedure of the International Conference of NGOs. Now, on the basis of these 2 texts, there are a certain number of principles to be observed. All NGOs with official partnership with UNESCO taking part in the conference have a right to vote. They are entitled to vote. And also those who gave a proxy to another organization. 1 vote is possible per a proxy, and the only organization that can vote is the one which was previously indicated by the organization. That is the what we call the main representative, and the one who received separately information on online voting. Now, in case of proxy vote, the agent organization votes on behalf of the principal. An organization can be the agent for 3 organizations only.
As you know, the election is a secret ballot election, and the liaison committee has selected the independent election online platform called Election Buddy, because we believe that that was the best online platform with all the necessary features concerning confidentiality, etc. The main representatives who are qualified to vote have the email addresses that have been officially communicated and duly validated by the NGO UNESCO Liaison Committee. Now, as I said today, we're not going to go into the details of the information concerning the elections because the representatives have already received a detailed guide on online election procedures. And let me remind you once again that the ballot will take place under the supervision of the Commission of Elections and assisted by members of the Secretariat of the conference. Now, as to the election of the chairperson, given the candidates, it's going to be a male president, and the chairman is elected in his personal capacity for a non-renewable term of office of 2 years. Now, as to this year's election, as you know, the ballot will take place today. It will begin officially at 2:30 p.m. and will remain open till 6 p.m. Paris time. 2 candidates have stood for elections, and the online ballot papers will bear the names of these candidates, accompanied by the name of the membership organization. The candidate having obtained more than half of the valid votes cast earlier, not counting abstentions, shall be declared elected. Of course, if necessary, in case no candidate obtains the required majority, there shall be a second secret ballot, but we will give that information as we go along. And the results of the vote will be communicated on the conference's website as well as at the beginning of the session tomorrow. Now, as to the liaison committee's elections, as you're aware, the liaison committee is made up of 10 NGOs in official partnership with UNESCO, and it is the NGOs themselves who are partners and who are elected, not the representatives. 4 of these NGOs have associate status and 6 have consultative status. Now, there are other criteria that have to be taken on board as to the geographical representation of NGOs. So we need at least one NGO partner having its headquarters in one of the 6 regions as defined by UNESCO. The members are elected for a term of office of 2 years, only renewable once consecutively. Now, as to the election of the members of the NGO UNESCO Liaison Committee, there will be 2 ballots. The first ballot will determine the election based on geographical representation, and the second ballot will allow for the distribution of the remaining seats by taking into account the representation by category, association status or consultation status. And just like for the election of the chair, if the first ballot will take place today from 2:30 to 6 p.m. and maybe a second ballot, if necessary, this evening, tomorrow at the same time. Now, as to the members of the NGO UNESCO Liaison Committee, you have received the list in advance, just like all the documents. 26 candidates have stood for elections for 10 seats to be filled. Now, as to the geographical representation, it is to be noted that there is no candidate organization for the Arab states region, so this region will not be represented in the liaison committee for the duration of this term of office. Furthermore, only one candidate organization has submitted its candidacy for Latin American Caribbean, so there is no need to hold a ballot according to the rules of procedure, and only one candidate organization has stood for elections to represent Eastern Europe, so once again it will not be necessary to hold a ballot for this region. And to conclude, for the first ballot, based on geographical representation, there will be only 3 seats to be filled for the 3 remaining regions, namely Africa, Asia and the Pacific, and Western Europe and others. So we have to use the UNESCO definitions of regions. The online voting ballots will have the names of the candidate organizations for the concerned region. So there will be 3 different ballots for the 3 different regions, and each has to express one preference per region, and the ballot is declared, the one that is declared elected is the candidate having the largest number of votes. For the second ballot, and I'm anticipating based on the first ballot that there will be 5 seats to be filled, and this time the ballot papers will have the names of the candidate organizations presented in the 2 different groups according to their partnership status, either association or consultation, and it is a candidate having had obtained the largest number of votes for each partnership category that will be declared elected. So I would just like to mention once again that this is just a reminder of the rules that have already been sent to you via the information documents. And as to online voting, there was a special guide that was sent to you, sent to all the main representatives who are allowed to vote. Now, of course, if any questions need to be answered, we will answer your questions if you put them on the Q&R section of the Zoom conference. Thank you. Thank you very much, Sabina. Thank you very much. Now, I would just like to come back for the volunteers because there were 2 mistakes. There were 2 people, in fact, who had raised their hand by mistake. Mr. Sagis cannot be a contributor for recommendations because he is a candidate, if I'm not mistaken. Well, after having verified, there is no incompatibility between the 2, between the recommendation mission and the candidacy mission. Okay, so that was a wrong piece of information. Thank you, Diego, for having double-checked. So we have Gabriel de Mildil, Christine Roche, Méjean de Sagesse, Mohamed, who is the representative, Hervé Barré, Teresa Kennedy, Chantal Grévin, and Chantal Pézon. So we would request you to send to the liaison committee email address, the Gmail address, and the UNESCO.org address, your proposals before tomorrow noon, Paris time. Thank you. Any questions on that? What is the question, please? Microphone, please, for your question.
Bon, il y a des petits glitches du...
Sorry about these glitches. We're getting the hang of it. I think we'll need a couple of more years to be fully efficient in this format. Sorry about that.
Alors, on va passer au rapport.
Let's move to the activity report and the financial report. And for that, I'd like to give the floor to Roy, who has replaced Richard Happy, who is very committed indeed, and who is trying his best to help us to cooperate with the liaison committee. Roy, your NGO is La Jeunesse Étudiante Catholique Internationale. Thank you very much to all of you. I would like to present the report. The Liaison Committee is delighted to present its activity report from 2018 to 2020 as per the directives of the cooperation with UNESCO and those elected. The composition of the committee represents a very broad geographical representation that you can see on the site of the committee. You can see the members of this committee and the president as well. And since the beginning of 2019, the Liaison Committee is trying to strengthen its intellectual cooperation with UNESCO and to make the work of the NGO partners more visible, but also to strengthen the partnership with NGO, UNESCO, and the dialogue with member states as well as with the Secretariat. Some strategic partnerships have been defined with the forum and with the sector and all the other players in order to mobilize larger audiences. It is important to note that the pandemic has seriously impacted the activities of the Liaison Committee, and it has been forced to postpone some of the activities that had been initially planned or even cancel them completely. The resolutions voted by the conference in 2018. Now, the International Conference of NGOs in 2018 was held in Paris from 17th to 19th of December on the theme of defying inequalities. And following this meeting, the recommendations were elaborated, and this is all available on the website of the Liaison Committee. As to intellectual cooperation with UNESCO, the committee continues to encourage intellectual cooperation with UNESCO, thanks to the thematic think tanks and collaboration with NGOs who have an official partnership, and also with the Secretariat of UNESCO. I would now like to give the floor to the Vice President, Mr. Philippe Bosson, who's going to tell us more about this forum on inequalities. Over to you, Mr. Bosson. Thank you, Roy. So I'm going to move from English to French and back into French.
Declared open by Mr. Kuxing, Assistant Director General of UNESCO, and was followed with a welcome speech by Marie-Claude Machon, the chairperson of the Liaison Committee. Over 350 people were registered, but only 90 people attended the forum due to the strikes which affected the public transportation system in Paris and in France. But attendance was quite good, considering that it was the problem of transport strike in Paris. Preparatory process. There was a series of consultations with NGOs in the drafting of the preliminary notes, which were further elaborated with inputs from the survey launched by the committee and finalized by the steering committee. The steering committee included 4 NGOs, UNESCO sectors, and the liaison committee. We received very strong support and participation of the program sectors, who participated in almost all the steering committee meetings and provided inputs in the content of the forum. We also had strong support of the Unit for Partnership at UNESCO, who ensured all the technical support we needed were adequately provided. I say it in French. Intervention et activités du forum. Il y a eu
There were 3 panels and 2 workshops during the panel focusing on current inequalities, the transformation of political power, and the committee took on board the sex, the age, to have a large panel of interventions with people speaking from different regions, Africa, Middle East, Latin America, etc. We also had representatives of French Parliament, French municipalities, academia, member states of UNESCO, NGOs, and also a young student. The selection of panelists was made through a panel of candidates that we had received from the NGO and from the steering committee through an online form that was to be filled out. We received, as far as possible, the modern technology and social networks. We're using Twitter, Facebook. Before the forum and even during the forum, we used a hashtag that we agreed on earlier. We were on Facebook even live for some sessions. We used the page of the social media page of the liaison committee. We also used a web application in order to promote the participation of the audience. And we also presented a video on combating inequalities. We asked the NGOs to present some of the actions that they take in order to fight inequalities, and that was all gathered together in a short feature film which was presented during the forum, and it was subtitled and put online. We also had a few music sessions with Vive Voix with Catherine Bonny, accompanied on the piano by Stéphane Witsch, with the participation of Armel Bugon, who is a soprano. Thank you to Christine Roche, who contributed to mobilizing the group. Je passe à l'anglais.
Was developed in the most participatory approach. Online survey called to NGOs to participate in the drafting and redaction of the document, inputs from members of the steering committee, and then, of course, inputs from the discussion at the forum. The final outcome was presented just before the closing ceremony by 2 responsible forum and have since been published on the website of the liaison committee. Additionally, all the presentations and video from the forum have uploaded on the website of the liaison committee and are accessible to NGOs and the general public. Thank you very much.
Merci, Monsieur Bossan. On passe la parole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bosson. I'd like to give the floor now to Chantal Grévin, who is a member of the steering committee. She's going to present the Forum on Global Citizenship. Thank you very much. Thank you for giving me the floor. I'm going to talk to you about the webinar that was organized on global citizenship. And I have taken note of what Ms. Azoulay said and emphasizing the exemplary work that has been done. And it is a great source of encouragement for us, and it urges us to continue. The NGO group worked in 2018 and 2019 to focus on a theme, and the education and global citizenship sector showed interest and provided a significant theoretical input on the concept itself, and it encouraged NGOs to share experience in the field so as to organize and contribute to a high-level forum in Korea in 2022. The steering committee was made up of 4 NGOs and 2 liaison committee members. About 50 different experiences from the field were gathered.
The theme of the webinar was the voice of NGOs, world citizenship to stimulate inclusion and diversity. Now, this first webinar was a success. 113 NGOs and universities participated in this webinar altogether 250 participants. Many people from various regions were able to participate thanks to the virtual format of the meeting, which actually shows that the fact that we were prevented from organizing the forum on a face-to-face basis had a positive impact because there was greater participation of the NGOs outside of UNESCO's headquarters. I would like to add that we think that the NGO conference will have to continue on this theme with a series of webinars to continue with the work done and bring significant contribution to the forum in Korea. A more detailed questionnaire is already online on the platform of the Liaison Committee to collect in-the-field experience from NGOs for the future webinar. We hope that we'll be able to organize this forum thanks to the already established steering committee with the support of the Liaison Committee and the input of the NGOs that were already involved and the future ones who are going to be involved as well. Thank you very much. Thank you. So I now give the floor again to Mrs. Machon-Honoré, who will make a report on the collective consultation of the NGOs for Education 2030. Thank you very much. I'm waiting for the PowerPoint to be displayed. I am the representative for the Liaison Committee at the consultation group for Education 2030. It's the second time that I was working in this context. This mechanism is the main UNESCO mechanism in terms of dialogue, reflection, and partnerships with NGOs in order to implement SDG 4, Education 2030. The first meeting of the new members and of the coordination group members, which are elected once every 2 years, but not at the same time as the liaison committee members, took place on the 7th and 8th of March 2019. We started to look at the strategy. We wanted to follow up the recommendations of the World Meeting organized in Brussels, to which I participated as well. And we had a workshop. But we realized actually that the civil society's voice was very limited there. We also looked into the document to be provided to the high-level policy forum in New York to examine the progress accomplished for SDG 4 in relationship with SDG 8, 10, 13, 16, and 17. You are able to see my PowerPoint, so I think you can see this. Can you move on to the next slide, please? So, given the fragmentation of the world education architecture, I think that civil society has to play a leading role. The Liaison Committee is represented in the coordination group, and we have a different approach from that of the other members that are regional members. And also international, because we have a global and intersectoral approach. And the first advocacy that we conducted during this mandate had to do with the various challenges linked to underrepresentation of girls and women in STEM and TVET, inclusion of children with specific needs, and young migrants and refugees. We also noted the problem related to the funding of education for the most marginalized and the importance of the civil society participation in decision-making. Also, we mentioned again the fact that education has to be considered as a continuum from early childhood on to all the way through higher education and lifelong learning. We also looked into the content of the curricula, especially with regards to world citizenship, peace and nonviolence, respect for human rights. So the group was invited to lobby the high-level policy forum on the fact that education was really absent from the initial version, from the initial draft, which was then submitted in July and then in September. The liaison committee representing NGOs and transmitting their collective recommendations said the liaison committee expressed on behalf of UNESCO's official partner NGOs expressed its concern as to the absence of reference to education in draft 0 of the political statement of the SDG Summit 2019 and called for recognizing the key role to be played by education in the implementation of Agenda 2030. Then in December 2019, we had the 9th World Meeting of the Collective Consultation of NGOs for Education 2030 in Hammamet. All of the coordination group members organized parallel workshops that came to give feedback in the plenary. There were altogether more than 150 participants, and the liaison committee moderated and organized a panel on inclusion for all. How can we change the mindset, the teachers and learners' behaviors by involving stakeholders, including families, informal and non-formal education. In March 2020, the coordination group produced a collective article, which you can find online. And the title is How Not to Leave Anyone Behind When School Closure Becomes the Norm, reflection of civil society. Then we also collectively, at the level of the coordination group and within the liaison committee as well, we collectively prepared a number of things throughout our meetings and our advocacy notes through emails. And the topic there was accelerated action and ways of transformation, make education a priority to get to sustainable development. On the 2nd of April 2020, we also provided a contribution to the steering committee the SDG Education 2030, and we made recommendations there. And then in June 2020, we prepared a poll or a questionnaire on the challenges related to school closures. And this is also an article that you can find, which actually is on the liaison committee site. In July 2020, together with the members of the coordination group, we organized a webinar, the title of which was Civil Society Actions to Protect the Right to Education During and After COVID-19. So here again, our approach is a global and intersectoral approach, and we presented a collective project, a solidarity project, and we'll discuss it again later. Then in September and October of this year, we continued working, consulting NGOs with a view to the organization of the World Meeting on Education 2020. And so this is a topic which is closely followed up, and we were also invited as observers to the World Meeting on Education. I also made an announcement on the chat on the death of the teacher Samuel Paty, to reaffirm the right to education, the right to teaching, and against violence in this context. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Machon. And I will now give the floor to Mr. Diego Gradis, who will be presenting the report on the working group for reinforcing partnership between the NGOs and UNESCO. Mr. Gradis, you have the floor. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, or good night. Thank you for giving me the floor again. And indeed, I will report on the work of the Working Party for the strengthening of the partnership between NGOs and UNESCO. Just as a reminder, this Working Party was established following a recommendation of the International Conference of NGOs back in 2018 that asked for collective thinking to be done to promote collective action on the part of NGOs to, again, look at and review the working stance of NGOs based on the 2011 directives and look into the way the conference operated. So this collective thinking process was conducted with 25 NGOs altogether, about 40 NGO representatives altogether, who met until March face-to-face, and then who met virtually, altogether about 11 times. And they determined their work program based on the priority needs. The priority needs which came out were, first of all, that we need to accompany new representatives with a document that did not exist at the time, and that would guide them during induction within UNESCO. So this was the purpose of a vademecum, where we recalled the role of the NGOs. We also discussed the various the structure within UNESCO, how you could engage in UNESCO, and we presented the liaison committee so that people had this information during this first induction training package. The second information is a major document which was a subject of lengthy discussions during the Working Party meetings, but also together with the Secretariat, on a statement on a strengthening dialogue between NGOs and member states. This is really a topic of substance. You have a link on the activity report to it. And this was presented to the Director General of UNESCO during the NGP committee meeting, and which started to be shared with a number of member states, and which should be circulated more widely, especially with the member states, so as to consolidate the dialogue between member states and NGOs. Before I forget, I would like to really say thank you to all of the members of the working groups who participated in the plenaries, in the working group meetings, online as well afterwards, and who participated in the preparation of this work. Thank you very much to all of you. This was fantastic collective work. Then we have 3 documents which are also online. You have links to them on the activity report, which were submitted to approval and which have to be approved by the International Conference. First of all, we have a guide on forums. Well, of course, now this was not much put in practice over the past 2 years because of the difficulties that we already mentioned. as to the actual physical organization of forums, but this is a very extensive work on definition of the objectives of the forums, the role of the liaison committee, of the secretariat, of the host countries, and how they share the work and the organizing work, how to discuss how to select themes, preparation of the forums, the way they are actually organized, then monitoring, follow-up, funding, and then reporting on them. After several years of experience attending forums, all of these various points had, it seems to us, become necessary. It was necessary to bring clarification to see how we could possibly improve these important encounters that we hope will be able to resume next year. Then we have an internal document which was a bit strange. There was no rules of procedure for the liaison committee that defined the communication, representation issues, how the liaison committee members were to communicate with the outside world, the financial aspects as well, and the modalities for the setting up and discussion and work of working parties. This was discussed when we discussed rules of procedure for this, and the rules of procedure were approved at the committee meeting, and now it is submitted to you for approval. Now, of course, this is not carved in stone. This is a new instrument, but that can be implemented so as to also be improved upon later on based on the results of its actual implementation. So this was the second very major document that I wanted to discuss with you. The third document, which is also a very important one, something that the working group thought was absolutely necessary, a code of conduct. Code of conduct for the liaison committee members. Now, for those of you who are candidates today, maybe you looked into this when you looked at the activity report, because of course they will be impacted by this. Once this code of ethics has been improved. It's a code of ethics and a practical code on the commitments and involvement of liaison committee members and candidates. We're talking about very essential values such as integrity, in-depth conviction, ethical issues on communication, the financial and funding issues, which sometimes also call for more in-depth reflection, and also having to do with the management of the financial elements. There's also a part on cooperation and partnership, and again, all of this has to do with collective coordination and work. So a partnership and collaboration is also described, as well as the spirit of collaboration between the members, which has to be defined to avoid wasting time, to avoid specific tensions or conflicts, which would be to the detriment of this collective cooperation. So to sum up, these documents were prepared, the vademecum, as well as the statement on reinforcing dialogue, and these three guides, which are very important: the code of conduct, the guide for the forum, and the rules of procedure of the liaison committee. So much for what I had to say so far. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Mr. Graudis, for this presentation. And we are now going to move on to the report on climate and the cooperation with UNESCO. And I'm going to speak English, and then I will give the floor to our colleague, Sir Andrew Chechev.
The committee has been working on climate change issues since 2015. Since then, a joint statement on climate change has been drafted, and an NGO forum on climate change was held in 2017. A working group was established in 2018 to continue to raise awareness on climate change and support UNESCO's mission. During the 40th session of the UNESCO General Conference, the NGO UNESCO Liaison Committee proposed the production of short films for young people who are mobilizing for the climate. The video is a response to the UN Secretary General's message for the countdown to the 100 days of the International Day of Peace 2019. Mr. Andrew Chechev, I will give you the floor to continue this report on climate change. So the floor is yours. You just need to unmute, by the way, we cannot hear you yet. Okay, we will give you authorization to
Okay, yeah, thank you very much, Roy, for the beginning of presentation. And I'm really going to be terse, and I have to add just a little bit that besides these kind of activities, during these 2 years, the Climate Working Group also concentrated more and operating on the premises that any climatic and climate adaptation activities should be based on finding the common ground for all stakeholders and parties involved, spanning all stratas from NGOs, non-profits, grassroots to businesses to governmental agencies and to academia. And another important factor here is to provide for enhancing public awareness of the increasing importance of the climatic agenda worldwide. Facing the climatic challenge and being able to recruit supporters and like-minded people needs providing them with the knowledge and availability of various tools to stand for preserving benevolent environmental conditions and making a climate change. Here one can think of slogan, think globally, whereas act locally. And the role of the Liaison Committee is to unite NGOs in a peaceful way and to provide them with knowledge and information about how goals could be achieved the most effective way in a consensus with all other actors taking taking an explicitly shown interest in the climatic agenda. And therefore, we suggested starting somewhat a climate activities clearinghouse in the Liaison Committee, able and available and serving the needs for all NGOs and the status with UNESCO. We've been uploading it on a more or less regular basis for these 2 years. There have been updates on local initiatives in various countries for designing and running cleanup actions, garbage collecting and recycling activities, public initiatives, and solving issues relating to energy conservation, environmental protection, and so on and so forth. And hopefully, this initiative of creating and improving the Liaison Committee Climatic Clearinghouse would continue because it contributes to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, especially those relating to nature protection and climate change and adaptation. And it would be great to continue its contribution to provide more information to this project. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Chechev, for your presentation. On va passer maintenant au rapport.
Now let's move on to the report of the International Days. I'll give the floor to Martine Lévy to present the report. To present the report, Mrs. Lévy, you have the floor. Let's wait for a few seconds. We can see you. We're waiting to be able to unmute your microphone. We can't hear you. Yes, it should be okay now. Martine, we can't see you, Martine. Is it better? Thank you for giving me the floor. the International Conference of NGOs in 2016 reiterated the importance of celebrating international days and invited the liaison committee to examine the proposals made during the conference, like the International Day of the Fille, presented by Soroptimis International and the World Association of Guides that I represent. They're organized by NGOs under the responsibility of the liaison committee, and these are not activities conducted by the committee itself. In 2016, the Day of the Girl was decided, and in 2018, a group with about 30 UNESCO NGO partners and other NGOs joined to celebrate International Day of the Girl. Hundreds of people participated. A manifesto on the website of the Liaison Committee was published during this event, and it was also distributed during the 2019 UNESCO General Conference. The 2018 International Conference of NGOs recommended that the work started be continued. The group continued its work under the title Voice of Girls. 2019 was devoted to organizing the October 2020 Day of the Girl in the form of roundtables on sport, health, and rights. We needed to do a lot of work to involve young people. With the pandemics, we started working early January virtually, and we will continue working virtually in January 2021 to organize this day in October 2021, either online or in person. The work that was done on girls' education during this pandemic, more particularly harassment at school, will be discussed. Thank you very much, Mrs. Levy, for your presentation. And now, let's give the floor to Michel Touzeau for his presentation on the International Peace Day. You have the floor, Mr. Touzeau. We can't hear you. I am a member of the International Conference of NGOs 2020. I'll be brief because I am going to present a 3-minute video. A video by Claudie Vass. It's the Choral and Peace Festival that was supposed to be organized, but which was postponed because of the COVID-19. It is organized and supported by about 18 NGOs for the International Day of Peace. Participations were received from Ukraine, China, and Africa for the mutual understanding between people and peace. I'd like to thank all the NGOs which took part in the project. Thank you to Claude Ivas, who directed this video. I'd like to thank you for your understanding, and the video will be shown now without translation.
Il faudrait passer la vidéo.
2 jours avant la journée internationale de la paix.
100 ans après les déclarations de guerre aux conséquences monstrueuses.
À l'UNESCO, nous voulons, par des paroles de paix,
des dialogues, des images, des musiques et des chants.
Avec des marionnettes du monde entier.
La seule cause de votre malheur, c'est que vous êtes incapable de faire la paix.
Des musiques et des voix de paix par l'ensemble Calliope et la chorale des vives voix.
Migrants, droits de l'homme et paix, du 26 au 29 septembre à Tunis, c'est en définitive peut-être un seul et même événement au service de la construction de la paix. Ça a donné lieu à une vaste collecte et un film qui a été présenté aux participants et qui a eu un grand succès parce que les gens qui étaient invités ont bien compris le travail qui avait été fait par ces jeunes et ces enfants de par le monde.
L'idée que l'éducation est clé pour l'inclusion contre la violence extrême.
Nous unis et tous ceux qui nous divisent, ceux qui nous unissent, c'est dans l'unité qu'on va bien avancer, l'histoire.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Tuzo, for this presentation. Now I'd like to give the floor to the report, to Mr. Cyril Martin for improving communication. Mr. Martin. Dear colleagues, good afternoon. Let me move fast on my report on communication. You will find details in the full report available on the conference site. At the beginning of my mandate, we tried to think about a strategy to improve communication. There were 3 pillars: institutional communication, internal communication, and communication with and through partner NGOs of UNESCO. Now, we're meeting this request, even though we need to update it. On internal communication, we wanted to develop tools to work better together. And the COVID-19 pandemics accelerated this work because we've learned to use tools like Teams and Zoom. Now, for communication with and through NGOs, of course, we have the Facebook page, which is raising a lot of interest because it is followed. We have more than 1,500 followers, and there are a lot of interactions through that channel. We wanted to develop a new tool, the NGO blog, which was set up to allow NGOs to tell their stories, to talk about the projects that they implemented in cooperation or in line with UNESCO's objectives. Very few NGOs have used this tool yet, so we would like you to make it your own, and we want you to be in great number, sending us short articles so that we can really disseminate your activities, which are vast and varied. Thank you. This is my report. Thank you, Mr. Noirtin. Now, Mr. Marc Toilet, on his report on hydrology training in Africa in partnership with UNESCO. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you. Good morning to all of you. I'd like to thank the Liaison Committee for allowing us to take the floor to speak about the program in training in hydrology. We have 8 NGOs, FMTS, AIF, OMEP, AMG, CICG, UNIAPAC, FMOI, Sir Optimist, and AIC. We're working on training hydrologists for Africa. We are within the framework of SDG 2030 with water, Africa, and women. And also we are in line with the 2014 Yamoussoukro Forum. We wanted to move from promises to actions. Now, what are the objectives? Conveying a technical know-how so that Africa can improve and maintain its water supply facilities, using the countries' delegations and local NGOs. In 2017, we have trained a first group of hydrologists, technicians, 15 technicians in 4 different countries were trained in Ouagadougou at the 2IE Center. And we also trained again 30 technicians with a gender balance. They were all involved in access to water projects that were trained also in the same center in Ouagadougou. And in 2021, we are preparing a new group. They will be trained in 2022. We have selected a third group with 22 technicians to be trained and 5 countries represented: Mauritania, Mali, Benin, Guinea, and Madagascar. So the project is really original. It is part of the ambitions that we have. We want to work with local NGOs. We want to work with countries' delegations. We are in contact with them for each trainee. And we want to work also with UNESCO's participation program and the International Hydrology program. We want to establish links, operational links on the different pillars of UNESCO, the countries, the sectors, and NGOs. So the work is going on, and we hope to train the third group of technicians in 2022. And we are also preparing a 1-year training session to train technicians, and we are calling on all interested NGOs to join us for the coming years. Thank you to you.
Cette présentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toillier, for your presentation. I'd like to give the floor now to Ms. Gabrielle de Milleville for the Solidarity Project of the UNESCO partner NGOs on COVID-19. Very sorry, we can't hear you yet.
On n'arrive pas à entendre encore.
We still cannot hear Ms. Gabrielle de Milleville. Yes, now we can hear you. We can hear you just fine. Sorry about that. Well, I wanted to first of all say that I'm very pleased to organize, to have participated in this gathering of NGOs working with UNESCO. We all need to come together, even though we can't necessarily be in the same room physically. We have gone through a lot of very difficult times, and now more than ever, we need to show solidarity with each other. During the pandemic in March, 8 NGOs got together to put our heads together to try to think about what we could do. And we said that maybe we could start a solidarity network with different associations across the globe and didn't necessarily know each other. The NGOs was le MEP CCCP South Asia Foundation, ATD Carmonde, Association Montessori, MBPWE, ILIFOR, and Make Mothers Matter, and I'm the representative of this association. The idea was to bring together different associations working in the field, understand the situation in the field, and show exceptional solidarity in the face of the crisis. The idea was also to suggest a new vision for the post-COVID period. And also to think about what UNESCO is doing and participate in this reflection of what needs to be prioritized in the aftermath of the pandemic. We said that we needed to set up Facebook groups. All the different associations have Facebook groups. So we went along the same lines. We created 5 in Asia, 5 in Asia Pacific, 5 in North America, Latin America, Europe, Lebanon. And over and beyond these groups on Facebook, we also worked hand in hand with different associations that communicated with each other. We exchanged emails. And so we had really a chronological sequence of what was going on in the field throughout the crisis. We were supported by Mr. Jean-Yves Le Saux from UNESCO and different UNESCO offices and national commissions, as well as the SHS sector of UNESCO, who wrote an article on UNESCO's website on our project. I would also like to thank Marie-Claude Machon, who also gave us a lot of support and very sensible advice. We met a young voluntary worker who did excellent research, analysis, and also drafted a report for NGOs, for the secretariats of membership countries. We can send it to you if you want. We have the French version. We will soon have the English version available as well. I think it is a very interesting report because it's not just about drawing up a list of different innovations, but it's a real analysis of the different actions. And I think that it can inform the thinking of member states and all the reflections around the pandemic. And we realized through this project how distressing the situation of so many people is, and we were really very moved by the engagement and the civil society movement across the globe. I think there is something really new that is happening here. And we thought two things. First of all, there was a very positive vision of civil society which followed along this pandemic, and we realized that partnership with UNESCO is absolutely indispensable in order to come out of this crisis. We have to make sure that we are allies, that we work hand in hand, and if not, we will not be able to be on track. So these actions in NGOs were conducted in very different fields, and nonetheless we were able to work together hand in hand with solidarity at the international level, with UNESCO's support, and in compliance with our values. So I think that it was excellent. It was a spontaneous project, but when you look at the report, you can see that the crisis shook up a lot of things, and the movement, the impetus that came from the field was really a gleam of hope in this situation, and we all need hope these days. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Millville, for your presentation. Now I'm going to present the next part of the report, the NGO space at the General Conference of UNESCO. Thanks to the collaboration with the NGOs, the committee had an NGO space which was situated very strategically right through the General Conference. It was at the Fontenoy headquarters, and it was a meeting point for the NGOs and an information point as well. A session called Sharing of Experience was organized to give the floor to NGOs. 16 of them were able to present their activities and exchange in a friendly manner with the people present in this area. And this moment was highly appreciated by everybody. During the functioning of this NGO space, one or two members of the liaison committee were always there to guide NGOs and other visitors. And we would like to thank them here. And we would also like to thank the head of the unit for partnership with civil society, Mrs. Sabina Colombo, and her team, especially Mr. Armin and Mr. Alberto. To the people from the Office of the Intergovernmental and Non-Governmental Organizations, I would also like to I express my gratitude. Now, as the NGO committee at the executive board, in order to keep up constructive relations with member states, the liaison committee, accompanied by a large number of representatives from NGOs, participate in the committee of partnerships with non-governmental bodies within the executive board. And the report is made of the collective activities of NGOs. And in these alliances with NGOs, governments, UNESCO, each partner conserves its specificity. And during its mandate, the liaison committee tried to strengthen this cooperation and also try to look for a larger participation by the NGOs in the collective participation within UNESCO. The president of the committee also met the NPG president in 2019 and also 2020 in order to strengthen and, in fact, look for opportunities to strengthen this cooperation. The organization of a theme-based discussion based on recommendation 207 was planned, but unfortunately could not be rolled out because of the health situation. The youth report concerning the commitment of young people. Now, in this respect, the committee has made a lot of effort to promote the engagement of youth in largely community-based activities and also UNESCO activities. In 2020, it was planned to get greater engagement from the youth, but once again, because of the pandemic, this was curbed. It was suggested that a network of youth NGOs be created so as to supplement the youth mechanisms that already exist within UNESCO. A few meetings were organized with the Youth Office of UNESCO and with other sectors of UNESCO in order to decide on a multi-sectoral project conducted by youth on the climate and try to see how we can include them and make them have a voice in the NGO landscape. I would also like to conclude by the meeting of the President and the Vice President with the Director General of UNESCO on the 30th of April 2019. The subject was, first of all, the functioning of the liaison committee. We had reinforced its efficiency by reinforcing the role of the liaison committee and also the geographical representation, as well as rules of procedure that were defined for the internal functioning of the liaison committee and the engagement of its members. Secondly, there was also the strengthening of the NGO UNESCO partnership through the forum and the visibility provided to NGOs by member states, the national commissions, and the of UNESCO field offices. Number 3, communication. Communication and cooperation between NGO, Secretariat and the different UNESCO sectors, and also communication and dialogue with member states and with national commissions, with UNESCO chairs, with UNESCO clubs, and the Associated Schools Network of UNESCO, the ASP network. So a 1-hour meeting was very fruitful and focused mainly on the role that NGOs can play as official partners of UNESCO, being a key representative of civil society. The Director General was very pleased with the creation of collective theme-based think tanks. The efforts were going to be made for improving the communication of the liaison committee and also promote the work that we are doing to member states. So this is something that we still need to work on. The liaison committee said that it would meet the president of the NGP committee and the importance of working with the national committees as well as with the program sectors was also underscored. Now, before I present the conclusion of this report, I would like to say that the reports of all these meetings are accessible on our website, the Liaison Committee website. And this report reflects the engagement of the committee and particularly when it comes to the implementation of the National Conference of NGOs and also focuses on cooperation with NGOs. The pandemic has led to major upheavals and has slowed down the implementation of our strategy, but we have nonetheless benefited from the different technological tools made available by the Secretariat so that the regional NGOs can participate in the reflection and collective activities. The members of the committee are all volunteers and have other activities alongside their functions as members of the committee. And the work in the committee requires a lot of time, a lot of energy. The Secretariat is capable of functioning on a day-to-day basis thanks to the utmost devotion of members who are always available and thanks to the President. And I would like to underscore this point and think about this in the future. Let us think about how we can strengthen the role of the committee, how we can improve its functioning, and how we can support its work. The Unit for Partnership with the Civil Society that is attached to Mr. Jean-Yves Le Sceau, who is the director of the Bureau for Strategic Planning, and under the direction of Mrs. Sabina Colombo and her team help the work done by the official NGO partners. And the committee would like to thank them for their support during the past biennium. We would also like to particularly thank all the NGOs that have given their contribution to the different aspects of the work of the committee, particularly those who have contributed to different working groups. And we hope that relations will be strengthened in the years to come, mainly thanks to the roadmap that has been developed in the last 2 years. And despite a lot of different problems, we have been able to move ahead. We are confident about the future, and we know that the UNESCO NGO partners can play a key role in promoting a better and more inclusive world. Thank you for your attention.
Je passe la parole à la présidente, Madame Marie-Claude.
I'd love to give the floor now to our President, Ms. Marie-Claude. Thank you very much, Roy. And I would like to give the floor to Marie-Christine Griès de Barbelay, who is the treasurer, for her report. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, in my mission and in line with the legal provisions of the liaison committee, I'd like to present the official accounts that were closed provisionally based on the information on 4th of December 2020. The final closing will be done on the 31st of December. The 2 years of this report will be 2018-2020. the committee is a non-profit organization, so the basis that is used is cash accounting. You have the figures on the website, and you have the provisional profits and loss statement, which is not very easy to read, and then there's also the financial report, and then you also have two graphs for the expenses, income and expenses pie chart. The financial year was quite atypical because of the impact on the world of situations, and the forum and information was provided, and the expenses of the 11th forum is on the screen. I urge you to go and have a look at it on the website. Expenses to prepare the celebration of the Peace Day enabled the group to fund a video film that will be presented during the event that has been postponed to 2021. Payment related to the Moscow Forum was paid for in 2019, mainly the reimbursement of visas and flight tickets. These were refunded. They were asked for by the participants following the forum, and the bank account was recredited of the equivalent of the sums of flight tickets that were not used. Then there was also an expense for the maintenance of the printer, which is quite significant, and I have contacted the supplier to understand this expense, and this expense is under exceptional items and corresponds to a lot of surplus of billing on estimated consumption. For the next few years, we may have to make sure that these costs go down, especially when it comes to printing costs, precisely because we're printing less and less documents. Then there was also the meeting that was held in the middle of the mandate, and there was food and beverage costs. And then there was a significant investment in internet because of the internet website upgrades. A blog was created, and there was some expense that had to go into that. When it comes to resources, the current events have been funded by the support provided by NGOs. The recent report does not show the final cash that has been collected, and also the connection with civil society is not available on the balance sheet. And UNESCO also pays for logistics costs for events organized in Paris, and also the CCEC for the musical event that was organized, and it could be an example for future organization of forums. Finally, on the situation, the financial situation, and what is planned in the future. In these results, the exceptional income, namely refund for maintenance of printer, has offset the drop in contributions of 2019, and therefore the result is positive, and we have not used our reserves. However, the collection equivalent to previous financial years is not enough. It is because certain events that were cancelled that our accounts are balanced.
in the future, new working habits may bring in real savings if this is to be durable. However, even virtual events require logistics and investment. The impact of the current crisis may be negative on the possibility to finance new activities by sponsors and the meetings at UNESCO. The NGO contributions are absolutely necessary in all independence to allow all of the activities managed by the liaison committee to continue. It is absolutely necessary that an increasing number of NGOs be associated to this work and bring contributions, financial contributions as well, to the liaison committee. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Marie-Christine. So first of all, I have an announcement to make. We forgot to have you actually approve the agenda that you received and which is on the platform for our meeting. So that's the first thing that we have to do. And then we'll go on to questions and answers on the various points that were presented up to now. So let me remind you that you can raise your hand, your virtual hand, and you can also react on the question and answer chat.
C'est un problème de...
Non, c'est bon. C'est le premier.
C'est le dernier, ça vient d'arriver là.
Alors,
c'est
toi que tu...
Okay. Alors, je donne la parole au CISV. Béatrice.
I give the floor to CISV. Béatrice, you have the floor.
Sorry. First, the question here is for the adoption of the agenda. So if you have objection, please let us know. So is this just a question of principle or is it against the agenda? Nick Newland.
It's a point of principle in terms of openness in process of an online meeting. You need to have a system and you need to explain to the participants how that system is going to work. It's for everyone's benefit. I have no problem with the agenda. I'm very happy to propose the agenda, in fact, so you can take a vote on it.
But I think, as we said, if there is no objection, the agenda is validated. It's been sent before. So if you have objection, please let us know. It's now, and afterwards we go on with the other points to be approved. But it will be, afterward it will be voted. Yes, there will be a vote, electronic vote. Are you happy? Bonjour Patrick. Est-ce que tu...
Good morning, Patrick. Do you have any objection to the agenda? Patrick Gallo, you have the floor. Can you hear me? Yes? No. I have no objection on the agenda. I raised my hand because I have a question on the activity report. Okay, we will be dealing with the activity report afterwards. Okay, so the agenda is considered to be approved. Okay, now we're moving on to the activity report for questions and approval. So, Patrick, you have the floor for your question. Go ahead. So, Patrick, yes, we can hear you loud and clear. I wanted to react on the various documents that were presented, the code of conduct, the code for the forums, the rules of procedure, to talk to those of us who are far away and who don't know the way this operates. And I wanted to tell them that indeed these documents are interesting, but there were many, many things that were already in writing. We didn't start from scratch. On the forums, for instance, obviously we cannot let people who just joined us believe that forums happened without regulations. Of course, there was a framework that already existed. Of course, that can be improved upon, but there were a number of directives and information to the states hosting us and so on. Now, the fact that all of this has been now formalized is interesting, but the text is a bit cumbersome, I find. It took me a long time to actually read all of these texts, and I'm turning to the English-speaking colleagues because this document were put online yesterday after 8 p.m. and for the English-speaking colleagues, probably it was a bit difficult for them to read and understand them. So, and it's important, I mean, we cannot vote and adopt texts without having really digested them. Now, what bothers me in the rules of procedure of the committee is a sentence under point 10, which is not very clear for me, where it says, the quorum for holding a meeting of the liaison committee is 1/3 of the members. In other words, 3.5 people, right? So if this point were to be adopted, this would mean that decisions could be made in a liaison committee where you'd have only 3.5 people, which I find a very dangerous situation. I mean, you cannot decide on a quorum for a liaison committee that's going to make very important decisions with just 3 people in it. So maybe there's a mistake or something that has to be amended, but this quorum issue, I think, is a matter of grave concern as far as I'm concerned. So if I could have an answer on this, please. And the second thing that I wanted to say on the presence of the elected members in the liaison committee, I was a chairperson in 2013-2014, right at the beginning of the new implementation of the new directives. And from the very beginning, we wanted to associate all of the geographical regions to the work of the committee, because it should not be a Franco-French committee or even a Parisian committee. This committee should really take into account all of the geographical realities. And this is why I feel that 3.5 people for a quorum is a dangerous figure. And I think that we should really insist for this liaison committee to integrate all of the geographical regions in the way it operates. Thank you very much, Marie-Claude. Thank you, Patrick. I will answer on a few points. You were saying that we already had a de facto operation, but that rules can be improved upon. And I agree with you. Not only can rules be improved upon, but I think that we are changing, and we have to change as UNESCO evolves as well. And I think that's a good thing, even though very good things were done in the past. As far as the forums are concerned, this was done in consultation with the Secretariat, because you know very well that when we organize forums, it's a fairly complex organization. And the fact that we have 4 forums over a period of 2 years is something that's a bit difficult. As to the English text, I mean, the text of the work has been on the liaison committee site and recently also on the platform and on the liaison committee site for a long time already. And I would let Diego answer on the other points. Diego, you have the floor. Thank you very much. Now, on the question of the forums, this major piece of work was done with the working party and with a meeting between the working party, the liaison committee, and the secretariat. And the document was the subject of a consultation process with the secretariat that sent in its comments so that they could be incorporated in the text and discussed at any rate and approved. And so clearly there was something missing with regards the forum rules, which only apply to this document only applies to the NGOs, but this was drafted after taking stock of our experience. We've had forums for 6 or 7 years, and we've realized that all we had were mere indications to hosting states with a number of criteria. Now we went much further than this, because we know that there were some concerns and some funding and some host countries on the themes chosen for the forums, and we felt that we had to go much further. And this is what we did, because what we had was insufficient. And I would like to say that we took advantage of this unfortunate moment where we couldn't have any forums, contrary to what we did on other topics. So we wanted to take opportunity of this empty time to put things in place based on the recommendations formulated at the 2018 International Conference, which pointed out many insufficiencies as to the forum organizations. So on the question of the quorum, I mentioned this before. These documents will have to be implemented in practice to see whether they work fine. But it's true that now we're much more used to working virtually, and fortunately this will help the regional members be more present than they were in the past. And probably this rule is too strict. The discussions actually on this quorum rule took place before we started having all of these virtual meetings. But that's the typical case of a document that is quite prepared to be improved upon. And in future years, we will incorporate other considerations as well in this document. I hope I was able to answer the questions and add to what Marie-Claude said. Thank you. Marie-Christine? Now, there are 2 people on the chat who support Patrick Gallo, and 1 person for the moment who suggests that we do not vote and not approve these rules of procedure now, just now. Well, we can let the NGOs vote and express themselves, in this way. If it's yes, it's yes. If it's no, it's no. Or if it's an abstention, it's an abstention. But at least we know. I don't understand why we should block that process, because people can vote. Well, no, it's just the expression of their opinion. We're not talking about anything being blocked. We're talking about people expressing their opinion. Mohamed, hello, Mohamed Amraoui, you want to have the floor? You have raised your hand, I see. Mohamed, you have the floor if you want to say something. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Can you hear me? Thank you very much. I actually wanted to congratulate the people who made a great effort to possibly put in writing things that already existed here and there. On the various topics covered by the 3 documents, the forum guide, the code of conduct, and the rules of procedure. I think it's always good in such an honorable institution as ours to have things in writing and standards So I would like to pay tribute to all of those who made an effort to prepare these 3 documents and to prepare the success of this conference. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't see why it would be a problem to vote and approve these documents. And of course, we can always readjust them and modify them in the future. The new liaison committee will start its work, and possibly they may want to readjust things. But I think we should start on the basis of something concrete, which is already here, some work that has been done, and which I believe can be used very constructively. So thank you very much. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Mohamed. You're certainly right. Rules of operational rules are good, and we can always change them afterwards. Christine Roche from CCIC. You have the floor.
Can you hear me? I just wanted to go back to translations because Patrick said that the English translation was sent yesterday only, and I wanted to say that the texts were available in both languages, and not only as of yesterday. NGOs got the documents weeks ago. It is also necessary for the NGOs which are not represented on the liaison committee to have a document reassuring us on the way elected representatives behave and the way they work. It is normal for an association to reassure members so that they can have trust in the people that they elected, and that they have a working group which is well coordinated, which has a common goal, ideal within the framework of the liaison committee, that is to be the representatives of all NGOs of the collective, to make sure that the collective work is conducted and communicated to UNESCO. This is what I wanted to say, and it seems very important now. Thank you, Christine. Gabrielle de Melville, MMM. Gabrielle, can you hear me? I just wanted to say that this is not actually a criticism against the past organization of forums. I think that to be efficient, we need to have written text explaining the way forums are organized, the role of NGOs, when do they come into play, when does the Secretariat intervene, the liaison committee. Otherwise, it leads to wasting of time, and we react in an emergency. And I think it will give more serenity and efficiency. And also on the way, the behavior and the code of conduct. This mandate showed us that because we don't have well-established rules, we haven't defined the rules of each and every one, we haven't set things clearly, we run into unfortunate situations which go against NGOs. This is a post-crisis period. Things must be set clearly to make progress. For me, it is extremely important. And of course, we can move ahead, but we need a basic document. And this is the reason why I am for the approval of these practices. Thank you, Gabrielle. CIM, Davide Grosso. Davide. Thank you. I just have a question of substance on this issue. I agree with everything that was said before, if the documents presented are the result of a remarkable work which will enable us to be better organized internally, but also outside with the organization of the forum. And I'd like to congratulate all those who took part in this work. Now, I just want to understand if we're asked to vote on an activity report, including these 5 documents, or are we going to proceed document per document? Because normally an activity report is a kind of formality. We vote on what has been done before. But if I understood you, we can't vote on the activity report, the new rules for the quorum required to make decisions, new rules or new guidelines as regards the organization of forums. I think these are different issues, and if we need to vote, we need to vote point by point or discuss point by point and not all together. I hope this was clear. Thank you. Thank you, Davide. Let me give the floor to Diego on the issues that you raised. I just wanted to know, before answering, I'd like to know if there are other speakers on the same issue. Lisbeth, you have the floor. Can you hear me? Oh, MEP. I just wanted to say that for over 2 years, about 30 NGOs worked on these texts. They wanted to be within the framework. We readjusted. These texts are a framework to help us to clarify what is being done. I think that having a standard setting text helping the liaison committee in the way it works and in organizing forums, strengthening partnership is something that is necessary. I have been a representative of my NGO within the committee. We need this text because we're always raising the same questions. So let's move ahead. These texts are certainly not perfect, but they can be improved. They can be worked on them during this session as a starting base. Thank you very much, Lisbeth. Victoria, can you hear us? Victoria, your microphone. I represent Montessori International, and as Lisbeth, I've been a representative at UNESCO for years now. The documents which can be amended depending on the situation is necessary. It would be a pity to neglect these documents for the whole of the NGOs. It helps also to understand the way the liaison committee works and to have more transparency and clarity. I worked on the vademecum because it's important to understand, but I'm against the fact that we vote document per document because we don't have time, and then we will find ourselves in a situation where nothing will be voted. So I think it should be included in the activity report this time. Thank you. there are many questions on this issue. It is half and half. Some people do not want us to vote in the overall report on these documents. Some people are saying that it's difficult to vote on all those documents together, and others who think that it should be included in the report and voted with the report. So this is a pending issue because you have as many people who are for as against. Diego, you wanted to say something? Let me answer Guylaine. I said, could we have the reports sent by email? But they are on the site of the liaison committee already. You just gave one example of a major improvement during this biennium, that is having online as quickly as possible the report. Now, Lisbeth, Victoria said it already. Between not having documents for our operations, which is a criticism that we hear enough, and having documents which could be later improved, we have to distinguish between the two. There is no hesitation to have here. We know that NGOs are sometimes criticized as a group because they don't have a rigorous, well-organized approach in their work. So we should trust this group, which was set up. There were discussions with the Secretariat. There were discussions within the liaison committee, and we've reached the stage where we are presenting these documents that were sent to you. As it was expressed by different speakers, we're not taking any risk. We can accept them as part of this report, and the working group, if it is maintained, will be entrusted with the liaison committee and the Secretariat to fine-tune, clarify, and improve these documents. But we should not stay there without making a decision, giving the feeling that we've been working without any framework over the past years. This working group has defined a framework which can be revised, of course, but at least we could have a basis to start working. This was the idea. So I support, I'm in favor of supporting these documents. And NGOs, of course, will be invited to take part in the work later on of thinking and improving these documents, but it was important to submit them to you. Marie-Christine, I am summarizing the questions which were asked. Nobody says that these documents are useless and that we should not have them. What people are saying is that they haven't had time to read through these documents and that they need more time to study the documents before making a decision. This is the reason why they're saying that they don't want to vote on these documents today. Now, I can't say that everybody agrees with those who are saying that. Now, the problem we have the intervention by Mr. Jean-Yves Le Sceau in a short while, so we can't continue our discussions. I thought we needed to stop because Monsieur Le Sceau was to intervene, make a presentation. Now, any rules can be adapted to the new team. I don't want to monopolize the floor, but this working group was open to all NGOs. And at the beginning of the biennium, when we had the plenary meeting where NGOs were registered, it was open to all all could participate. Many NGOs joined the working group for its work, and I think you were able to see these documents. I hope that some have read it at the same time as the activity report. It's a matter of trust in this working group. The purpose of an international conference is not to negotiate text when all NGOs could have access to this text in the preparatory work. I think that in the interest of transparency, openness, we can move on and come back to it at the next biennium. But we need to have a framework for our work. Now there are 4 requests, 4 people asking questions. URTI, Alexandre Pletzer, are you there? Can you hear me? Yes. The Union of International Radio and Television, Alexandre Pletzer. I'm used to working in international fora, and the text presented is of high quality. Maybe it's about wording. Now, if we vote now, we are approving the wording. Now, if we approve, does it mean that later on we can change the wording, in which case we can approve them? But it would have been better to say for approval with possible amendment. That would have solved the legal issue. Maybe we can record everything that was said, and that at the next committee this can be improved. I can approve it without any problem. Maybe we have the quorum issue with 3 people. That might raise questions, but I think it's a matter of wording. I think we can approve the text and trusting this committee and the next committee to improve the text, to readjust the text. I think it's a matter of wording. Yes, this is what you're saying. Now, all operating rules, they are adapted. They're adapted for the CC. NGO, sorry, it was changed. Paula Maria Zaro, FIFM. Can you hear us? Yes, I hear you quite clearly. Can you hear me? I agree on the need to have rules, but in the present situation, we have on the agenda voting of activity report, not the rules. So I agree that we should vote on the report, and for me, it is a favorable vote. But there is another vote to be organized on the rules, saying that the rules can be changed easily. It's not really the case, as shown by these discussions. If we set rules, it's not that easy to change them. So it is necessary to have a dialogue with the NGOs which did not have the possibility or which were not able to take part in the working group. I think the working group did a wonderful job, but I think we should postpone voting on the rule, and for the time being, I vote favorably for the report, but not for the rules. Thank you. I've finished. Now, quite rapidly, I have a proposal following what was said. These documents can evolve. We can maybe accompany the voting with a recommendation that this document is revised, discussed during a meeting at the next biennium. We approve the document, and in the documentation, the recommendations that we adopt on Friday, we can include a specific recommendation saying that, Friday. We approve now, and the committee can formally commit itself to recommend an improvement of this document. So this can be added to the recommendations so that we can adopt the rules.
I think Christian Brey wants to say something. Christian Brey, CMA, hello, you have the floor. Monique Oasis as well wants the floor.
Oui, Christian Breuil.
Christian Breuil from CMA, you have the floor.
Bon, écoutez, on arrête les questions.
Okay, then I think we were going to stop the questions. The proposal is to vote. We'll approve the report with these recommendations. Okay? So let us proceed with the vote right away.
Donc,
alors, le processus se fait en deux.
Well, the process is to be conducted in two stages. Today we will take a poll. The International Conference will adopt the activity report as it was presented by the Liaison Committee. So that's the first thing. This is with the annexes, of course. And in the same decision, we will add that we are anticipating on the recommendations that will be taken by the International Conference. The International Conference will make a recommendation in the next Liaison Committee meeting to pursue the reflection on the 3 documents that have been accepted. 3 documents, right? It's a resolution, it's an adoption, it's not a question. The International Conference, well, the question is as follows. Do you accept the approval of the report with the 3 documents in annex, Code of Conduct, Rules of Procedure, and Guide of Forums? Given that a recommendation will be made by the International Conference during the next committee meeting in order to review these documents in the framework of the ongoing reflection. Can we say that? Do you approve the report? That's the question. In these conditions, with the recommendation that will be made during the next committee meeting to pursue the reflection on these documents.
The committee of the liaison committee, the activity report of the liaison committee, with the understanding that a recommendation to the next liaison committee, and its annexes, with a recommendation to the next committee. Qu'est-ce que c'était le français? Non, non, il faut qu'on adopte le rapport d'activité là maintenant. Subject to a recommendation for revision to be. Bah oui, mais alors on le lit et puis on l'approuve.
Juste pour préciser que dans la liste des gens qui.
In the list of people who are speaking, it's not easy to proceed with a poll on this. We are going to proceed with a poll, says the speaker. While awaiting the decisions, let me remind you that voting is open and you should have received the emails. Cyril, can you explain, please? Yes, for the elections, you should have received an email in your inbox. If you haven't received it, I urge you to have a look at your spams, because maybe the mail has gone into your spams. For those who have not voted automatically, the system will automatically generate a second email at 5 p.m. So even if you've not received the first one, you will get a second one, so don't worry. It was part of the document that was sent by the Secretariat. So just make sure that you have received the email in your inbox and not in your spams. Thank you. Yes, thank you, because a lot of people have indicated to me that they haven't received the email. I wanted to say to the participants sending messages that a lot of people are expressing their views, that we are going to do this via the poll system, not just in the chat, because it's impossible to make accurate calculations just by looking at the chat. So you will be able to vote. We're going to send you the poll, and then we will proceed with the presentation of Mr. Lesseau.
Good morning, bonjour à tous.
Bonjour à tous. Nous allons lancer donc un sondage en lien avec ce qui vient d'être dit, en lien avec les discussions.
So coming back to the poll and the election, you can vote as follows. On your screen, you will have a little screen and you will see the question on it. Do you approve the activity report of the liaison committee along with the 3 documents in annex with the understanding that there will be a recommendation in the following meeting? In English, it's as follows.
Liaison committee. The activity report of the liaison committee with its annexes subject to recommendation to the ICNGO. Il y aura 3 réponses possibles.
There are 3 answers possible: yes, no, or abstention. As to the poll that is underway, for participants that have not been appointed as main representatives that are accredited to vote, you are encouraged not to vote temporarily. The microphone is off. The speaker's microphone has gone off.
Nous allons
procéder au retrait des personnes non habilitées à voter.
Pendant que
While the vote is taking place, let us give the floor to Mr. Jean-Yves Le Saux, who is going to talk about the preliminary proposals of C4, C5 by the Director General. Jean-Yves Le Saux, who is the Director of the Bureau for Strategic Planning.
Oui, bonjour.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, my Claude. Good morning. I hope everyone can hear me and see me. No, we can't really see you, Jean-Yves, because you're hidden behind your PowerPoint presentation. But thank you for joining us anyway. Thank you very much, Marie-Claude. And thank you to all of you, all the members of the Liaison Committee, for these last couple of years that have, of course, been very strongly impacted by the COVID-19 crisis. And I really admire your courage during this whole period. And I would also like to thank all the members of the Liaison Committee. I wanted to share to all the NGOs that are online, I wanted to share with all of you some elements and some preliminary proposals, some key features of the preliminary proposals that have been prepared during the previous year and to which you have all contributed. At the beginning of my presentation, you will note that, in fact, the whole period has changed our preliminary proposals completely because the pandemic, in fact, has revealed a lot of inequalities and has brought to the fore certain problems that no doubt existed prior to the pandemic, but that have been exacerbated by the recent crisis. And we need to look at the Agenda 2030 in this respect. aspect. We have a huge number of NGOs participating in the international conference, which is a huge achievement. Our Director General was also absolutely delighted with this level of participation. It is also very good for as when it comes to the number of member states as well. And in the Secretariat, we have made analysis of the results. This is the third pillar of the general evaluation, and the focus was on how UNESCO was going to meet the large challenges of our times. And this is something which is very close to our mandate. And this is also the beginning of several discussions which will lead to the 41st session of the General Conference. The Executive Board is holding its meeting this year, and there will be a working group in January as well, during which the different proposals will be organized, will be addressed, sorry. And there's a significant convergence between the responses received from the member states and the NGOs, which reveal the well, if you look closely, you can see that the member states and the NGOs, by and large, share the same objectives. However, there is a slight divergence when it comes to the intensity of this support. For instance, when it comes to the question of biodiversity, or when it comes to inequalities. If inequalities is SDG 10, reduced inequality, and you can see that the NGOs are at 80 or 94% rather. They believe that this is indeed a priority, whereas members only 83% of the members considered this as a top or medium priority. So this is the fruit of some of the discussions that we had at the Executive Board. But these are minor differences nonetheless, and on the whole there is a considerable convergence. The Director General has suggested the inclusion of reduction of inequalities after eradication of poverty in our mission statement. The idea is that the consultations have revealed that reduction of inequalities is an indispensable dimension of eradication of poverty, and it also is part and parcel of respecting human rights and combating injustice. Now, these proposals confirm the importance of the 2030 agenda with the focus on the 9 objectives where UNESCO has a key role to play as a lead agency. Gender equality, and there's going to be more dialogue with Africa. We are going to maintain these priorities, Africa and gender equality. and also some of the large functions will be maintained, and particular attention will be paid to the balance between the normative and the operational sides. More attention will be given to analyzing and producing quality data, and the mission statement is going to focus on reducing inequalities and leaving no one behind. And there'll be a structure that will facilitate intersectoral work and better management of complexity. There are some main lines of action that have been identified. I'm not going to read all of them, but UNESCO is going to work towards common objectives. We need to make sure that that is going to happen. C5 and C4 will be the founding documents along with the Constitution, and these documents will focus on the fields in which UNESCO plays a key role and is the lead agency and has a distinct comparative advantage. We want to position UNESCO in a strategic manner within the UN system, strengthened international cooperation in UNESCO's fields of competition, promote universal values, diversify and extend partnerships, don't leave anybody behind, improve the efficiency of UNESCO and improve the results. Now there is something new when it comes.
Now we have also aligned the expected results on to the terminology used in the UN in general. Now we're going to use outcomes, effet in French. It's a bit sad that we've waited so long to do that, but now we use exactly the same terminology as the FAO, for instance. So now we have a terminology which is very, very close, and we have 4 rather than 9 strategic objectives, which will be reviewed every 4 years, and which should be longer-term objectives. These 9 outcomes will also drive the drafting of the C5, which can be revised in case of need. And finally, we have output instead of expected results, and the program sectors maintained. So we had integrated the strategic objectives in the questionnaire on the following page. We need the following page in the presentation, please. Here you see the diagram with the 4 strategic objectives, 9 outcomes, where you see all of the major programmatic lines dear to UNESCO, and the institutional environment with Africa and gender equality as a global priority for the organization. And the cross-cutting theme is crisis preparedness and response. Finally, what I would like to say is that these preliminary proposals give a lot of weight to NGOs, because first of all, they are an essential element in the opening of the organization, and that's part of the strategic orientation desired by the Director General. It's an essential element of the partnership strategy of UNESCO, and we currently want to strengthen these partnerships with all of the programs. Also, because COVID-19, and I'm going to finish because I'm asked to do so, because COVID-19 demonstrated the real impact of civil society intervention, ranging from operational impact to strategic analysis for the future. And so we definitely need to anchor NGOs more in the problems and programs for the implementation of 41C4. Thank you very much for your attention, and I do apologize if I took up too much of your time. Thank you. Thank you very much, Jean-Yves. That was very good. So here we have an announcement for the on the poll that is sent to you on the approval of the report, as we said, including the mention of a recommendation for the next committee. I would also like to thank the interpreters who stayed with us till the end today. So we have to be clearer. You need to vote now, yes, no, or abstention on the poll question that you can see here on the screen. I apologize. I thought you were gone, Jean-Yves. So we were supposed to have the presentation by the NGO UNESCO Liaison Committee of the draft contribution, but we're going to postpone this to Friday. So sorry about that. But we had a long discussion on the approval of the report, of the activity report, and so we're only voting now. So thank you very much, Jean-Yves, and we'll deal with the next question on today's agenda on Friday. Thank you very much.
Je vais passer la parole à Sabina qui va...
I will now give the floor to Sabina, who's going to give you the results of the poll. Hello again. So the poll is underway, but now we've had more than 82% of votes cast. And so the result is in favor of the approval with 74, 8 against, and 7 abstentions. So I can repeat this. So 70 votes in favor of approving, according to what has written on the board, 8 against, and 7 abstentions. Thank you for having been with us online. We do apologize for all the technical glitches. The chairperson thanks the interpreters. Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Everybody's really in a hurry to leave, but don't forget to vote. And we meet again tomorrow, online again, at the same time, at 1 p.m. Paris time. And I think that's the end of my announcements. So this concludes the first day of our meeting, and we meet again tomorrow at 1 p.m. for the second day. Don't forget to vote. And in case you haven't received the poll, please report it to the persons involved. Thank you very much again to all of you for your patience, for your forbearance, and for your presence online. And thank you for your support to the Liaison Committee. Thank you very much, and see you tomorrow.